first to admit that it's not exactly a huge change, but I'm happy with it. I wish I had gone a little shorter, but like, it'll do, it's fine. After last month, my main goal with this is for this to be a very relaxed and chill vlog, but also festive. Don't worry, the ugly sweaters and the festive hats are going to come out. This upcoming week, I'm probably gonna return to some poetry. That seems like a good way to de-stress after the craziness of this past month. And yeah, I will see you when I see you. So like I said, I did work on a lot of poetry this week, and I finished one, so I thought it would be fun if I did a little poetry reading for you. This is called Outrage. I'm not the best at naming poems, but that's what I came up with, I guess. You must capture the outrage. Steady the lens as the crimson blur manifests, unbridled and lashing. Don't be afraid, be petrified, but delicately adjust the focusing ring anyway. Because if this is feral fury at its softest, imagine the villains you could slay together with a sharper picture. I'm glad I took a break from that one for a while, even though I know that the main reason I took a break was because I was so consumed by NaNoWriMo at the time, but it felt like I needed time to really get this one right. Also, I was feeling pretty stuck on it for a while because the topic of this poem felt so big in my mind and very intimidating just as a topic of something to write about. I think for that reason I kept coming back and like thinking to myself, am I saying enough about this? Do I have more to say about this? Is this too short? Which I normally don't think when I write poetry. Like I'm fairly confident in my ability to like write a poem that's less than 10 lines long, but like still be very concise. But I think because the topic felt so intimidating, I just kept thinking like, am I doing this topic justice? But I am really happy with how it turned out. And the few comments I've gotten on Instagram about it have showed me that people are resonating with it, and that's been really encouraging. And that's really all I want. All I want is for my work to resonate with people, and I'm glad that this poem did. There is this other poem that I've been working on a lot this week, and that one's all about platonic heartbreak and like friendship breakups. Basically, about a year and a half ago, I had a falling out with a really close friend, like someone I really did care about, but I just realized that it would be healthier if I didn't have them in my life anymore. I don't know why, but whenever I write about this situation, it just feels like I'm writing a diary entry. Like this is a thing you write about in your diary when you're in high school, like the drama between your friends and stuff like that. But I know it's more than that, and I know it's more valuable than that. And like, I definitely don't think that platonic love is something that's really talked about and delved into enough, at least not to the extent that romantic love is, right? Like it feels like platonic love is here, familial love is here, and then romantic love is like all the way up here. And I love romance. I love a good cheesy rom-com, but I think especially after I had my own experience with losing a friend who I cared about very much, it just made me want to try to write about that to the extent that I would write about romantic love. Because it is very interesting, especially as an adult. I just think platonic love and platonic heartbreak, I think it is as interesting and fulfilling and complex and nuanced as romantic love and romantic heartbreak. At least speaking from my experience, like when I was growing up and falling in love for the first time and getting my heart broken for the first time, I would hear this advice from the adults in my life, like boyfriends and girlfriends, they come and go, but your friends will last forever. Your friends will last for the rest of your life. Your friends will always be there for you. Your friends will never let you down. And now I'm 23 and I'm navigating adulthood and I'm realizing that that's not true. And I hope when I finish this poem, it's something that other people can relate to and I'm not just alone in this. I am gonna keep working on this poem, but this upcoming week I also wanna bring some attention to my short story again, because I haven't edited that in a really long time, and I'm looking forward to looking at it with fresh eyes. Like, I haven't really looked at that short story since like October. So yeah, I will see you then. Good morning. It's been another week. I'm trying to like gradually become more festive as the vlog goes on. We actually lost power last night, so I'm literally just filming here because there's a window right here, and I don't need to worry about artificial lighting. Right, so this week I've mostly been working on my short story, which I really hadn't worked on in a very long time. Basically, I have a friend who I always send poetry to. If I really want them to be good, I'll send them to her and she'll give me feedback. And this is the first short story I've sent to her. So that was the end of October, and it took her a few weeks to get through the edit, which was fine by me because I was busy with NaNoWriMo. And finally, this past week, I got to all of the edits that she had for me. The big things that I was doing was I was fixing my tense. So the short story is third person, and I had it where the very beginning, like the first page, was third person past tense, and the rest of it was going to be third person present tense. And at the time, I thought that made sense, but that was the big note that my friend had, was just to keep the tense consistent. So I did. I decided to just make the whole story third person past tense. I think my thought process was, I've read a lot of novels where, like, maybe there are two timelines, right? And one of them is past tense and one of them is present tense. Or like the novel I'm writing, basically, the majority of it is first person past tense, but then the very end of it is first person present tense. Basically, with the short story, I think I just don't have enough time to do anything that could even be a little bit confusing. And I feel like if my tense is going back and forth or whatever, even if it's just for one section, then I feel like that'll just be confusing. So I'm glad I made my tense consistent. That was a good idea. Her other notes were like some small story details that could be fixed, or some stuff that was overly complicated that I could just simplify. But yeah, I got through all of those this week. I got through them in like 2 days, I think. And now I think I'm done story editing, which is really weird to say. So now I really have to start editing for grammar and diction and word choice. I remember in the last vlog, I was talking about how for the novel, I wasn't done story editing, and I wasn't going to be done story editing probably for a while. And I talked about how I didn't want to worry about making it sound pretty, or like worrying about word choice or diction yet, because I wanted to work on the story. And that's still true, but now that I'm like approaching a new phase of editing my short story, I definitely have realized it's not really about making it sound pretty like I initially said. Like, I really need to start thinking about not only my character's voice and making sure every scene I'm saying makes sense for what my specific character will say, but I also need to make sure that my own writing voice is coming through, which is weird because I know what my writing voice is in poetry. Like, it's my first real fiction piece that I've written in a very long time. Like, obviously, when I was in film school, I would write screenplays and stuff. I did that fairly regularly, but this is the first time where I write a story and it's all about the words on the page. It's not like I'm not using camera movements or camera angles to tell a story anymore. I'm using my words. Everything I'm using is like in me, which is very intimidating. But it's been good so far. I've definitely been watching a lot of YouTube videos just trying to just looking for advice about how to make my writing and my descriptions and just everything stronger about it. Like, I really want this story to just knock it out of the park, and it's really close, and I think that's what's almost kind of scary about it. I'm really excited it's almost done. It's just very intimidating, but hopefully I get that done soon. For the purposes of the vlog, I was thinking that oh, I'll work on the novel on the 3rd week or the 4th week or whatever, just so I'm talking about something different for every section of the vlog. But I'm torn because I want to revisit the novel, kind of wrap up any story editing that I need to do before the end of the year. That would be really nice. But I'm also really close on this short story. I think I'm probably just going to do both. I'm probably going to work on both and kind of give updates on both for next week. But yeah, I think that's everything for me. I'll see you guys next week. Merry Christmas to all of those who celebrate it. I am filming this on December 27th, so a couple days after. As you can probably tell from the drastic change in audio quality, I am working with a new mic. It is actually my boyfriend's. He is a wedding videographer and he got a new microphone for Christmas, and he is very kindly letting me borrow it for vlogs. It's been a very busy Christmas for me. The past 2 weekends I've been visiting family and going to holiday parties, and work has been really busy with a lot of meetings and end of the year year projects, so I haven't been writing as much as I would like to. But I did finish that poem I was working on a few weeks ago. I ended up calling it We Were Never in Love, and I posted it to Instagram like a week or two ago, and a lot of people have been liking it and connecting with it, so that makes me really happy. I haven't gotten very far in the short story editing process, but I have started. I've been doing a lot of research, especially about just the best ways to go about editing a short story. Namely, I've been watching a lot of videos from Shaylin Wrights, who I have mentioned on this channel before. I promise I do watch other writer YouTubers, but Shaylin is just so good about talking about short stories. Like, they really have a passion for short fiction. Like, they're working on their first short story collection right now, so I've just been obsessively watching their videos on it, specifically about line editing, which really can apply to nonfiction or short fiction or whatever, but it's been a really good starting point for me in editing my short story. So yeah, just assume anything I say from this point on is basically Shaylin's advice, because they're much smarter than me when it comes to short fiction, and I've just been learning a lot from their channel. So when I first started editing for like grammar and diction and stuff like that with my short story, I think what made me overwhelmed to begin was just feeling like I had it in my head that right away I needed to focus on rewriting everything, not for story, but just to make it sound prettier, which I was talking a little bit about last week, and like picking out more interesting verbs and stuff like that, which I will have to do, but like it's been helpful for me in these early stages not to focus on what I need to add, but what I need to cut. I think that's a lot easier and manageable of a task to do. Like, on a micro level, it's been very helpful for me to learn about what I need to cut from my sentences that just make them cloggy and congested and just unnecessary. Some examples of stuff I've been trying to cut have been like to be verbs, ing verbs, vague words, filter words, words like up or down or that or just or only. Just little words like that that are just unnecessary for a sentence has been really helpful for me to just cut out of my sentences. This alone has been super helpful, and it's honestly kind of reminded me of something that probably seems really obvious on the surface, but has been really helpful for me to be aware of, and that is just keeping in mind that the way I speak in real life isn't necessarily how my prose should read. Again, that sounds really obvious, and that is kind of something that I apply to my poetry. I think that principle has been easier for me to apply to poetry because poetry is a much more abstract form of writing. But now that I'm sitting down to write a short story for the first time in a really long time, I don't know, I guess when you go into a project like that, you assume that you're going to be writing something that sounds more like the way you speak in real life, and in theory you would think that writing in the same way you would speak would add a level of authenticity to it. And that's probably true to an extent, but at the same time, when I'm just talking to people in real life, I definitely use words like that, like, only, just. I use words like that all the times for filler in my sentences. And that's what most people do, but you don't think about that on a normal day-to-day basis, and how when you translate that to a fictional piece or whatever, it's been really helpful for me to keep that in mind, because now my prose is still coming across naturally, at least for the most part, but I'm also taking away all of that clunky language that doesn't need to be there. So that's one of the biggest things I found really helpful so far. Today, I've really been focusing on like the first section of my short story. So I've kind of been rewriting it, but I'm not rewriting it for like story reasons. I'm just trying to give it a little more depth. It's been challenging because it's definitely felt like the very beginning section of my short story has been very underwritten, and I did do that on purpose because I did hear a piece of writing advice somewhere that said something along the lines of, when you're writing a short story, you want your inciting incident to literally come as soon as possible. Ideally the first paragraph, or if you have to, like, keep it on the first page. And that is good writing advice, but I also have just felt that the beginning of the short story feels so like unnaturally rushed, I guess. And I'm just trying to tread these waters very carefully, because when I write in general, it's very easy for me to fall down that rabbit hole of like, oh, what if I changed everything about this? And I'm really trying not to do that, but I'm just finding it to be difficult to add dimension to some of my prose without making it longer. But also the way I'm writing it now, you could say my inciting incident is just a different event, I guess. I don't know, so I'm hoping it still comes across the way I want it to come across. I'm just torn between strictly following all of these short fiction rules and making sure this short story is perfect, but also like just telling a story. And I think I'm just trying to give myself space to do that because I want the prose to feel natural, and I feel like it's not going to feel natural if I'm like really restricting myself to the point where like I'm stressing myself out. And I'm not writing any brand new scenes or anything. I think I'm just like trying to expand on what I've already done. I think it helps that I have written the story out from start to finish. I know what the story is, so now I can just focus on telling it in an interesting way and like a more interesting way. So for that reason, I think I'm just feeling more freedom to just tell it in a way that feels natural, even if that means the inciting incident, or what I initially thought was the inciting incident at least, comes on page 2 instead of page 1, you know? Although I haven't had a lot of time to sit down and edit for extended periods of time, I am enjoying it when I do have time to do it. Like I said, I'm feeling more confident in the story, and now I feel like I can just refine it. I can refine what I've already made. Like, it feels like I'm starting to apply the things I have learned from writing poetry for so many years. I'm starting to apply that stuff to fiction writing, and that's really exciting. So I have the next week basically off from work, and I really want to spend this last week of 2021 kind of reflecting and relaxing. Like, I am gonna work on the short story, but I also don't want to stress myself out with like a really hard goal, you know? I think that's everything I have for now, so I will see you then. Happy New Year. It's currently New Year's Eve. I'm filming this before going out tonight. Very exciting. 2021 was very interesting. At the beginning of the year, I made this experimental poetry performance thing, and I had a great time sharing it with people and submitting it to places. Before I graduated, I also had another poem that I submitted to a creative writing contest for my college, and I won a little award for it, which was really fun. Between those two things, it was really encouraging to actually win awards for the writing that I do. Even though they were only on like a college level, it was still very encouraging to like reinstill that like this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like, not only is creative writing for me very fulfilling, but also other people gain value from what I do. And that was very encouraging for me to learn this year, I guess. I graduated college, thank God. I continued working on my novel, and I started writing a short story, which has been very fun, and I'm really excited to finish that. I started making writing vlogs for this YouTube channel. I also wanted to take this part of the vlog to talk about New Year's resolutions. I'm kind of in the middle with New Year's resolutions. Like, I feel like they can be very motivating for like the first week. But like, I'm never gonna say it's bad to like aspire to be a more accomplished and happier version of yourself in a new year. When I was coming up with my resolutions for the new year, the first thing that came up was just, I need to publish my work. Like, that's very important to me going into this new year. Whether it's a poem or this short story that I have been writing, I really want to publish something of mine. I just feel like I need something that offers me a little more credibility than just my writing Instagram, which I love. I love my writing Instagram. I love the little community I have formed on there. But I do really want to be published. In that same vein, though, I also think it's just as important for me not only to get published and like get my work in a magazine or a journal or something. I think it's just as important that I start submitting like crazy. And I know that'll mean a lot of rejections. That's why I'm trying to go into this new year with that understanding that I'm probably gonna get rejected a lot, and that's a very normal thing. And it's probably gonna hurt. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a very sensitive person. But I feel like the more I put my energy into putting myself out there and getting rejected and all of that stuff, I feel like I'll be able to develop a tolerance to it, and it won't hurt as much. So that's another resolution I have. Just put myself out there as much as I can and just expect that I'm gonna get rejected. Of course, another resolution I have is just to finish the short story I'm working on, which shouldn't be that difficult. It is very close to being done. The last like writing resolution I came up with is just finishing the second draft of my book in 2022. But if I can, I really want to get it done before May of 2022. I started writing this novel in May of 2020, so if by May of 2022, if I can finish a second draft by then, that would be really exciting. It would give me like a very satisfying sense of momentum as well, just feeling like I'm putting out a new draft of this book every year, or like revising, I should say. But even if I don't get that done by May, I really hope in the next year I can finish a second draft of that. So those are all of my writing resolutions. questions. The only other thing I can think of is I do want to put more energy into this YouTube channel. I enjoy making these cute little internet videos, I guess. It just feels like a really low pressure creative outlet, which I really appreciate. I'm not gonna start doing weekly videos by any means, but I think aiming for 1 to 2 videos a month is a really good starting place for me. So, which I know the YouTube algorithm gods aren't exactly going to love, but I am looking forward to continuing this in the new year. I hope you had a great holiday season and that the new year treats you well. I really hope you do something nice for yourself today, and I will see you next time.